Welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast, where we talk about leadership and successful entrepreneurs and veterans come and tell their story. I hope you enjoy the show. Follow me. Let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge. And before we get into the interview, I want to let you know I'm off-site. So if it throws you off that you see something different, it's because I'm not in my normal home office studio, but I did it for a special friend, and I'll introduce him here in a second. But Victory Leaders Lounge is brought to you by Victory Leadership Coaching, home of the Warrior Leadership Coaching Certification and the Vetrepreneurs community. And don't forget to read my 2 books on Amazon: Why Organizations Should Develop Their Leaders, a pocket guide, and Warrior Leadership: The Journey from Coach to Entrepreneur. Now, I am here with Michael Mulherin, and he is owner and president of Informmics. He served 30 years as a firefighter, a lieutenant captain with Midwest Fire Department, and remains a college adjunct instructor. He is extensively trained in hazardous materials, including knowledge on multiple workplace chemicals, the hazardous communication standard, safety data sheets, job hazard and job hazard analysis. His 6 training sessions are, Informmics training sessions are, and we'll be going over these today, and he'll tell you a lot more about it. But the first one is fire safety in your workplace. The second one is the hazard communication standard. The third one is leadership and safety. Then we have emergency action plans for the workplace, hazard energy control, lockout, tagout, and innovative evacuation drills. Michael, how are you today?
It's great to cross paths with you. Thank you.
Well, we do that often, yes, and I'm happy for it. So Michael is actually, he's not just a guest. He has been, ever since pretty close to the time I started my business a couple years ago, he has become a great friend of mine since then. I met him at a local networking group, and we have grown to, I don't know, say put up with each other,
tolerate each other,
whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
So I am so happy that you decided to be a guest. This is something that I do to try to motivate people to go out and start a business. Would you mind telling us a little bit about, once you retired from the fire department, what made you want to go out and start your own business? What's your why behind this Informmics business that you have?
Thank you. I think you would agree, every entrepreneur has their own pathway they need to follow. If you have motivation, in which case I did, after my years in emergency services, I thought, I've got another chapter, at least one other chapter to write. And I'm a type A personality. I don't wish to accumulate dust. I am a people person. I wish to interact with people beyond what I had in a college setting. So I thought, I'm going to start regardless of all the challenges, and I got great encouragement from relatives, fine people such as you, in which case I thought, I'm going to give it the best effort I can. And I would encourage anyone else out there to consider the same thing. Don't discount your possibilities.
Yeah, that's exactly what a lot of people should understand, is that if you're in a situation that potentially sucks, mm-hmm. and you're really, really good at something and it's not what you're already doing, or you really enjoy doing something and that's not what you're already doing, then why wouldn't you go out and make money, especially if you go over to the local small business development center or something and find out that there's actually a market for that thing.
Great point. There's a lot of resources out, and if you are not aware of them, please apprise yourself of what's out there to help you, guidance-wise. Many professional organizations also enlist retirees that can give you some guidance, insights, deficit management, as I call it.
Deficit management. We all need that.
Bingo. And I will be the first to say I try not to make too many deficits, but regardless, there's things out there that you should be aware of, and don't shortchange yourself.
Right. Well, I want you to tell us a little bit more about Informmics, if you wouldn't mind, and if you want to go into anything that you specialize in. I think the audience here would love to hear a little bit more about it, and it kind of gives us some insight, dangerous or not, into what makes you tick.
I appreciate that. The best way and this is spur of the moment, the best way I can inform or explain about why Informmics came to fruition is real simple. A lot of training that I have gone throughout my life, I thought, how can I utilize it? Because I don't want to rest on the laurels of that training. Here's the key thing for me. I want to stay in my lane.
You want to stay in your lane.
Stay in my lane to me means, are there other things I could be involved in for workplace safety training? Because that is what Informmics is, workplace safety training. I've seen a lot of pros and cons in businesses that, in regards to emergency services, me showing up thinking, if they would have done this proactively instead of reactively, this would have been a better outcome for this individual business. Staying in my lane means I chose 6, and I thoroughly enjoy the 6. I've added a new wrinkle to one of the topics with a little more technology, and I am receptive to that. But that's why Informmics started. I feel I can help augment the people that are safety managers, plant managers, people in HR. Sometimes they wear the hat of being a safety director. Safety committees. And here's one thing that I've always wanted to do, help people in office settings have a little higher ability to help themselves out in the event of an emergency. Instead of just passively waiting after dialing 911, there are things, if you thought through prior to the need, that you can have in place that is going to help minimize the problem. Yeah,
I agree. And one of your 6 on here, that kind of, it really leads me to that. I remember when I was back in even elementary school and high school and the whole 9 yards, they had us do these practice fire drills. How often does somebody do that at work? But you help. I mean, they put together these plans, they have them posted, but how often do the employees actually know about them?
Bingo. And what I try to infuse upon people, the last thing you might have had for training, stop, drop, and roll.
Yep.
Okay. My goodness gracious. How long ago was that? And
long time ago.
I give them insights if they have a fire interior to their building, in their office, in their manufacturing facility. Insights such as close as many doors between you and the fire as you can. I give insights into how firefighters may conduct an internal search and rescue effort, and how you can perhaps position yourself to heighten your possibility of being found. Many fire departments have infrared cameras that are either handheld or attached to a helmet. Many, many more fire departments do not have that luxury. It's not in their budget. So giving them tips how to use a fire extinguisher. How many people in office buildings on a daily basis walk past a fire extinguisher and have no idea how to actuate it nor use it efficiently? That is something I hope to cure.
Yeah. Well, and I say to change the culture because that's basically what you're trying to do. But in the safety realm, is to help companies with this. There has to be knowledge, there has to be awareness, and there has to be advocacy. And so, if you're doing all three of those things, which you are, you're providing the knowledge, you're giving them awareness, and you're helping them with advocacy by letting them know that this is what I'm doing for a living. You have gaps. This is why it's important.
If they want to consider, I don't care if it's a seasoned safety manager, if they want to consider outsourcing, all I ask is let's chat, and maybe it's a good fit, maybe it isn't.
Yep.
But I will assure them of one thing: if I am in front of any of their personnel, either in management or the people they supervise, I will not step on any of their guidelines, their standard operating procedures. I always want to communicate to them, let's go over that so we're on the same page in lockstep, make it a win-win.
True. So culturally, I kind of feel like that's where you have on here leadership and safety. I think that's where the culture part of it comes in. And I think you just got done talking about that, but you talked a little bit about how to use a fire extinguisher, but there's more to it. You have the fire safety in your workplace. Can you go into a little bit more detail on what that means?
Fire safety in your workplace, I brought in, I might as well bring it up now as opposed to perhaps a little later, the augmented reality training. Imagine this, and I'll tell you why it has merits, this augmented reality. On top of an empty cylinder, 10-pound ABC fire extinguisher is nested an electronic tablet. I won't advertise the company, but regardless, it interfaces with the extinguisher. I place QR codes when I'm with management, whoever the decision makers are, in various places within their building. That can be on the outside of an electrical circuit breaker panel door, a stack of pallets, if it's an office, a bunch of boxes, a space heater. Regardless, a lot of things that could have a malfunction or cause a fire. I go back to the electronic tablet, program it to interface with the QR codes. I hand off the extinguisher to JJ and I go, it's all yours. Whereupon JJ looks through the screen and sees a fire develop, and you have to make an initial decision which of the 7 extinguishers is appropriate for that particular fire. And then it rates you on your proficiency of utilizing the pass system. The pass system is pulling the pin, aiming at the base of the fire, not at the fire itself. That chemistry experiment has already occurred. You're wasting valuable contents of that extinguisher. You're only aiming at the base of the fire, period, and then squeezing the handle, sweeping and smothering at the base. It will fail you if you've gotten too close. It will fail you if you haven't gotten close enough. It's a learning tool, and it will fail you if you believe you've knocked down the fire and you've turned your back on it too early because of vapor reignition possibility. It will fail you for that. A lot of people, longer hair, you have a hoodie on, that material could be involved in that reignition.
So with this system, is it kind of like a train the trainer program? Once you install it at a company, they can use that as an ongoing training aid, or is it only when somebody like you shows up and provides that training to them?
With all due respect, it's the second part.
Okay.
When somebody enlists for me to come back, I want to make it cost effective. The beauty of it is this. Here's the benefits of it. No discharge of a fire extinguisher and its contents. Environmentally friendly. You don't have to go out into a parking lot in adverse elements. Can be done interior to a building. You can train a lot of people, short time, and give them different scenarios that are intrinsic to their building as opposed to just going out to a parking lot.
Yep.
So I want to make it cost effective and continue to do so.
You know, another thing that you train on is, I know you do the hazard communication standard. I know so many people that go into a locker and they see this pile of papers sitting on the door and they don't really understand what that hazard communication standard is, what these MSDS sheets or whatever they're called now. I know that's what they were called when I was on active duty.
Correct. That's what they were called.
But, you know, how do you provide training on this stuff? Is it just, do you take them and show them? Do you just do classroom? Do you do a hybrid of both? I'm just curious about that.
I'll give an example, and
Okay.
I think that's the best way. It's a great question. SDS sheets have been updated. They include GHS pictograms, of which there are 9. They give valuable information. Those are labels affixed to containers, boxes, contents, you name it, 1-gallon jugs. The hazard communication standard, I track OSHA's top 10. I am not a certified OSHA instructor. To teach the hazard communication standard, you can be somebody that is apprising people of the components of it. That's what I thoroughly enjoy. So they can be in compliance. That's part of Informmics' motto, compliance. It is number 2 right now in infractions frequency and subsequent fines as a result of that. I watched it from number 5, and I knew it was going to happen. It went vertical to number 2 for now infractions. In fact, I have some trifold folders that have number 5 on it. I should pitch them because they aren't relevant anymore. So to answer your question, what I typically do, I make it customized as opposed to saying, here is a generic safety data sheet with 16 sections. I'm going to go over the contents. I'm going to give you some of the interpretations, definitions of abbreviations, what to look for, what to prioritize. But the customization part, I ask them to bring their own, what they have at their business, as opposed, if they have sulfuric acid, so be it. If they have ethylene glycol, we're going to go through what they have that's pertinent to them, and then I can see how things could be reactive to one another. And obviously life safety is imperative. That is it. That's the number 1 priority. Property conservation is much later on the pecking order. So I have a soft spot in my heart for chemical on-site training. By the way, it's not only your building. Do you know your adjacent buildings, what they're doing, what they're manufacturing? Perhaps their problem could be your problem in short order if you have a vapor cloud coming towards you. But I try to dovetail it in with emergency action plans for your business, where you're going to take safe refuge if need be. If you don't have a plan, you're running with scissors. Okay. Be proactive as opposed to reactive. That's all I ask.
I always tell people, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Bingo. Absolutely. Great way to put it.
So tell us a little bit more about that. You know, you do the emergency action plans. That goes kind of along with the evacuation drills, but that goes more in depth because to me, when I hear emergency action plans, it's scenario based.
It is, correct.
So just curious if you wouldn't mind going into that a little bit.
If I get a chance to make a hybrid of both of them, which I get the opportunity to do so, I will intentionally throw in a few curveballs to a building evac drill.
Okay.
And it's not a gotcha per se. It's a learning moment So you have to intentionally think outside the box. I thoroughly enjoy that. Now, in addition to emergency action plans, think of this logically. What you might want to have in your safe refuge harbor area within your building. I would prefer, hey, it's pretty cheap. Couple cases of bottled water. Humans need water to survive more than they need food initially. Flashlights. My goodness gracious, if you're a bicyclist and you have a bike helmet, bring your bike helmet to work when you know you aren't going to use it if there's going to be perhaps some tornadic activity, straight line winds, derecho, you name it. It's a little cranial protection, a little more than my cap that I have on to protect my head.
You mean that won't work?
That will not help one iota in the event of flying glass, wall, partial collapse, whatever. And what I try to impress upon people, and follow me on this, do the math. If you're in a city, perhaps of 200,000, arbitrarily choose that. Fire station wise, an average would be maybe 10 fire stations. At their central fire station, they might have 6 to 10 personnel. The outside stations, typically 3 personnel. So on that given day when an incident, if it was tornadic activity, trees going everywhere, primary power lines down, poles blocking roads, to get to you, you have 37 people. Do the math logistically. How many structures can they get to in an effort to help yourself have your own emergency action plan?
Not nearly enough.
And people are naive on this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to solve their problems, but I give them, purely as an example, don't let your safe harbor be near a partition wall. A partition wall isn't going to help you. You want to be near a load-bearing wall, away from windows, away from glass.
Well, and people don't really understand. They don't always think about, this is not your day-to-day stuff. People always say, well, that doesn't ever happen. It's just an office building. But, when you think about it that way, we do have these derechos. We do have tornadoes. We do have fires. We do have all these emergency things happen, whether it's ever happened in the history of your business or not, it does happen. So, this is purely to make sure that when it does happen, you know what to do.
Bingo.
And if you don't, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But knowing the statistics of what support out there is available, I got a chuckle out of you yesterday when I said, doesn't that engage your pucker factor a little bit?
Bingo.
And so how important, but in addition to that, so for warehouses and stuff like that, I know they use this a lot, but you also help with lockout, tag out, and hazardous energy control. Can you go into that just a little bit?
I certainly will. And all of these things seamlessly blend into each other.
They do.
If need be.
I do know.
So I'm going to give you this quick heads up for those that it might benefit, hopefully each and every one of you. I brought this up to JJ recently. It wasn't yesterday, but in the past. Typically in the Midwest, and I'm going to stick with the state of Iowa as an example, June is a high activity month for tornadoes.
Yep.
Lo and behold, 2024, there were in the month of April 49, in the month of May, coincidentally, 49, and then we went into June, which was a lesser number. So expect the unexpected, and with lockout, tagout, which in essence, there's many different forms of hazard energy to control. Being proactive, yes, you're shutting down machinery for maintenance, replacement, you name it, repair, typical lubing, you might have to shut it down to move it 3 feet because some other machinery is coming in to help supplement your production at a plant facility. Lockout, tagout also, how many people in the United States, the building they work in, particularly people in offices, know where their water shutoffs are, their natural gas shutoffs are, their electrical circuit breakers to shut down the whole building? If your maintenance person can't get through a debris field to get to it, I think it would behoove you to have some other people that would also have that knowledge in the event of an event.
Yeah.
So it's proactive. Lockout, tagout can even be thermal, well beyond electrical. Everybody makes that correlation. Hydraulic, we could go on and on. But just trying to put them all together. If there's something that's going to be deactivated, lockout, tagout, consider the merits of taking a fire extinguisher with you.
Yep. Well, there's more than that to it too. I mean, there's also a tracking mechanism that goes along with lockout, tagout. So, I mean, if somebody's not doing something wrong and that next person goes over there and sees a deficiency, you just found not a punishable moment, but a training opportunity.
Bingo.
And so it's all of these things. Everyone, you should be cross-training on all of these things as much as you possibly can to make sure that you are mitigating the risk of something bad happening.
Mitigating, perfect word. I agree.
Yep. But this is kind of the point in the call where we're almost at the end here. That went fast, didn't it?
Oh, it certainly did. I appreciate the opportunity to cause fast. It went incredibly fast.
It did. I always ask my guests, it's usually a surprise at the end of the call where I say, if there's one thing that you could share with the audience, what would that be?
Think of all the experience you have. Think of all the people that, I'll say in my case, people that trained me, put the time in, the effort in. You're a wealth of knowledge. If you're thinking of taking the leap, starting your own business, don't be hesitant. Be prepared. You're going to get some bloody noses, some bent fingers. Consider getting a hold of the resources before the fact, before you decide to establish, register with your state, get insurance, make sure you get the appropriate insurance, have the budget, have the numbers ready and ripe, but do it. Don't be reluctant. Don't let anybody say it's not worth the risk. Get in there and fight.
I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I think you could have.
Well, the only thing I'd add to that is, a lot of these people, they put, to your point, they put it off because they don't think they're ready or they don't think they have enough knowledge. And for those people, I would say study. If you already are knowledgeable in something, but you don't think you're at the level of proficiency, the average person, if you spend 6 months studying it, you're going to be more proficient than the person that is trying to figure it out for the first time. And so chances are, if your service helps solve that problem, then you're already ready. Just like Michael said, go out and do it. But this is the end of our podcast. Again, I appreciate you coming on. For all of those out there that watch it now or in the future, please like this wherever you see it. Please subscribe if you're on my YouTube channel. I cannot get the word out fast enough for all of these successful entrepreneurs and veterans and first responders and all of these wonderful people that come on my show without people subscribing and increasing the algorithm on my YouTube channel. But the most important thing is, if you have questions or if there's something specific that you want to know, you have to leave a comment below wherever you see this so that me or whoever I'm interviewing on one of these shows or any of my shows can get back to you. And that concludes another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge. Michael, thank you for coming on my show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your veteran advocacy.
Of course. Yeah, well, everyone deserves advocacy. And so thank you very much for saying that. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in for another episode. We'll see you next time.